everybody, welcome to Bura Tech. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the risk factors that could take Udemy down. Alright, welcome back. First, in this video, I want to make sure that you like, subscribe. The more subscribers you get, the more content we can make. The number one reason why you subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel is to get in the money-making trends before they go mainstream. So, if you want to file for an IPO, you have to submit documents to the SEC. Now, Udemy has done such thing, and as you can see, this document is absolutely huge. So I'm going to be making a ton of videos on this particular document here. There's so much information to unpack. But remember, I'm going to be talking about this as a person who has been on Udemy for 10 years and has been talking to all the instructors and all of the staff at Udemy. And I also have a very successful business. We've made millions of dollars, and we've also sold over 1 million courses worldwide. So I'm in a very good position to give a critique here. And remember, when I critique Udemy, I'm not saying anything has done a bad job, and I do want Udemy to succeed. And if you're an investor, I want you to succeed as well. And in order to do that, there needs to be some changes to the platform. So let's talk a little bit about some of these risk factors here. Okay, so in these risk factors, there are lots of risk factors, and I'm not going to be going over every single risk factor here. The reason is that it gets into very detailed risks, and there's something like, well, what happens if a natural disaster happens? Maybe profits will go down. So a lot of these risk factors are just general business risk factors that they have to put in. But I'm going to be talking specifically from the e-learning point of view, and specifically as a person who's been making money on Udemy since 2010. The first thing that they mention here is that there's a history of losses. Now, this is nothing new. A lot of different companies have losses. The most famous of this is, of course, Amazon. Amazon lost money year over year over year. Then one day they became profitable, and it was amazing. And a lot of these companies try to go down that road as well. They lose money until they become profitable here. So they'll say something, and I'm going to be doing a whole video on the accounting here. But they said they lost 70 million, 77 million. At the end of 2019, and they've lost 52 million or 29 million in the first months of 2020 and 21. And then you can see that there's a deficit of 407 million, okay? Now, again, I'm going to be talking about how I run my business and what they could do at Udemy, but that's a different video. Again, like and subscribe. I will be talking about this day after day after day because I've been wanting Udemy to do this for many, many, many years, okay? So let's take a look here. And again, you can read all of this. And I'm going to just highlight some of the more important points here. Okay, so we have a limited history, but these are some of the big things. Maintaining and increasing a base of learners, instructors, and UB customers in our platform here. Okay, so UB is, of course, Udemy for Business. And this is key here, right? So one of the things Udemy does do, and the balancing act is, can you get short-term gains or long-term pain, or how do you get more long-term sustainable profits? And in the e-learning industry, you want people to come back. Now, the thing is that a lot of these problems could be solved with a more efficient marketplace, a more free marketplace. Versus the one they have now. And the reason for that is mostly the marketplace is being kind of sacrificed for recurring revenue here. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. Again, Udemy has kind of two businesses. It has the Udemy for Business and the marketplace. And they're trying to bridge that gap with a personal subscription. And I think that's the absolute wrong thing to do. If anything, they should allow companies to be scalable in the marketplace and to sell individual subscriptions. And if they want to include things on the UFB side, then they can do that too. That's what I think they should do. And again, there's a lot of things I'm going to be talking about here. So successfully competing with existing and future participants. A lot of these are very kind of just very much business things that you got to put in. Expanding our business, anticipating and responding, avoiding interruptions. These are basic things. But the major one here that they put first is a base of learners, instructors, and customers. Okay. Now, all of these three things are kind of interchanged, and they actually, so Udemy does a very good job at keeping learners there. They do a very good job of keeping businesses there. They do a very poor job of keeping instructors there. I can't tell you how many instructors have left the platform. People that are really good at what they do, and they've just either A, got a job, or B, made courses on Teachable or Thinkific, or C, just started their own website or their own business doing something else. So the reason is that Udemy is way too controlling over the marketplace, and I'm going to be doing, again, a bunch of videos on that. But just because the marketplace is far too strict compared to other marketplaces out there, and it leeches on profitability, and most of it is due to the lack of just basically small business acumen in the company. Okay, a lot of the people that work there, a lot of people who work there, I absolutely respect that, but they're trying to run it like a big business and a big platform when they just need to talk to their instructors and listen to their instructors a bit more. Specifically me, right? Because a lot of the things that I say that they should do, and sometimes they end up doing it. And I'm going to be doing a video about this amazing Facebook post I made on one of the worst things that Udemy's ever done. And they basically did what I suggested they do, and then, well, profits basically, came back. So in here, like the bold points here, it's like operations might fluctuate to a wide range of factors. And so, like, the ability, again, to instructors, learner, and enterprises, right? And there's lots of things in here. The ability to change a pace with technology in the industry. Udemy doesn't really do a good job of that. And the reason is that the quality of courses hasn't really gone up in the last 4 years, okay? And I should do a whole video about that as well. But the problem is that the instructors, I really think the top instructors in Udemy are actually really good. In fact, the top instructors at Udemy are some of the best in the business, okay? And myself included, because whenever I go into other people's sites, I go there, and what happens is that, like, I'm not really impressed with the with content, right? Sometimes I go to a site, like a big other site, and I'm not impressed. It's like, what am I learning? Just basic things in the industry that you should do, and a lot of these other sites don't do it. But I can get that on Udemy, either through my courses or through some of the top sellers. They do a really good job at this. So, a lot of the instructors here are really good. But the thing is that the quality hasn't gone up because they've hit a wall with scalability. There's only so much one instructor can do. And there's no collaboration, and most of the instructors are solo instructors, and we need it to be scalable to businesses, right? Just how the video game industry used to be, like Atari games were made by one person, and then eventually they're, 2, 4, and nowadays you need like a whole team to make a video game. The same thing happens with online courses. All of the best courses that I've made, I didn't do all by myself. I had input from my employees. We talk about it. We had meetings about it every week to improve. And, well, that basically makes us better at what we do. My problems are a little bit different from Udemy's because I don't have, again, 400 million coming in. I don't have millions of dollars here, right? And if I did, I would change the industry. But that's a story for a different time. So the thing is that, again, Udemy does a really good job. And a lot of these risks are kind of just basically points that they have to put in. Otherwise, with the SEC, you got to put in, like, if you didn't plan for a natural disaster in your business and your public company, you got to at least prepare for this. Here, they say that their growth might not attract new learners, instructors, and organizations. Again, they actually do a really good job at learners and organizations. And, actually, if anything, they do the best. If I were to rank these, this is coming up again and again and again, which is really good because I'm glad that they're aware. But if I were to rank these in number one, from like what they do the best at, it's organizations first, learners second, and then instructors third. Okay. And, you know, that's just what they do. So going on here, now this is probably, I'm glad they put this in, because when I was reading this up to this point, I'm like, oh, they need to talk about this here. So I almost should read this whole thing, but our platform relies on a limited number of instructors who create a significant portion of most popular content on our platform. Okay, that can be solvable, and I'm going to talk about that. In fact, I could make a whole video just about this, but I'm going to talk about this in depth right here, because this is the real big risk factor. In fact, I would say that this paragraph right here is the #1 risk factor for the platform. Okay, out of everything else, this is the one. So let's talk about it. Okay, so, and the loss of these instructor relationships could adversely affect our business, financial condition, and results of operation. Absolutely. Okay. Now, let's just read this whole thing. Okay. So as a part of our instructor community, we strive to build meaningful connections with instructors. They do for the most part, if you play with their rules, ranging from those that are well known and have created extensively to those who have just begun the course creating process. Now, I would say that they don't really engage in the newcomers here. And the video I did yesterday was about the coupon system, and that coupon system is a good highlight of new people just not even going to Udemy. Okay, so they don't. So if I were to give this a percent weight, they probably 90% people who are already on the platform. No, 95% people are already on the platform, and then new, just creating process here. New people, okay? As of June 30th, 2021, we had relationships with over 65,000 instructors. Although most of the breadth and diverse expertise of our instrucors base and the content they create as one of our competitive advantages, a significant portion of the most popular content on our platform and a significant portion of our revenue is attributed to a limited number of instructors. For example, 5% of the instructors generated 71% and 70% of our paid marketplace enrollments during the 2020 and the first half of 2021, respectively. Moreover, because instructors may unpublish content or leave the Udemy platform altogether, subject to our right to continuing offering such content to new learners on the consumer marketplace for 60 days afterwards, and our subscription offering for 12 months afterwards, we may need to source replacement content by a different instructor on short notice. Okay? Now, this is, okay, so let's unpack that here. Now, the reason why they do this is because it is impossible to move your course up in the marketplace, right? So it doesn't matter how good your new course is, if you basically have to be hand selected to get into the top here. And while I tested this years ago, it might be different now, but I tested this years ago where we actually had more sales than a top person in one category, and we did not clinch the top spot. Udemy's marketplace is not transparent, and if you have a ton of enrollments or revenue, it will not move you up in the spot the same way it does on Steam or Kickstarter or App Store, right? And that is the thing that absolutely needs to change. First of all, that coupon system is not going to attract new learners. Now, let's take a look at this here. We need to source replacement content on a different instructor on short notice. Now, this is what they do all the time. So somebody leaves because they're done with the industry. Because remember, making these courses it burns you out. It really does. In fact, you know, for my business, in 2016, I decided to outsource some of the basically expand my business into multiple employees. And if I hadn't done that, I would not be making courses today. I'd definitely have a job, right? There's no way that I could do all the course material before that. Before that, what I did was the course creation, the video, the editing, the marketing, the customer support, literally everything. And you cannot do that. Now, a lot of the top instructors do outsource that. They outsource the editing and all that stuff, but they still work really, really hard, and way harder than they should if let's say they had a company. But Udemy really doesn't like that. You'll notice that every single top instructor is a name and not a company. Now, Can you tell me another kind of marketplace that works like that? I can't think of one. And, it seems like they want it to be the closest example I can think of this is probably comics, right? So, like, a comic has a name and they might have a staff with them to kind of do the daily operations and whatnot. But really, at the end of the day, it's their name. And that's probably the thing that Udemy is closest to. But content is really difficult to produce. And the courses are actually extremely difficult to produce. And it gets harder and harder as other companies are using the teams to create better products, right? And eventually, this is going to come to a head. Now, the other thing that this really irks, a lot of the current instructors is you'll be on the platform for years and years and you'll be producing really good content, that gets fairly highly rated. And then they'll just find someone somewhere else and they'll just automatically put them up in the marketplace if for one reason or another. And, when you see that, if you've worked your butt off to make a course and then they just basically hand select some new person that, they can just hire, well, they basically just kind of hire them in some way, shape, or form by just letting them rise in the marketplace rankings. Because the marketplace rankings are not transparent or objective, which really needs to change. But going back to this here, and a lot of people see that and they just say, I'm done with Udemy, right? And this is why instructors leave. They leave because, they hand select everything. Right? So again, I can go on to all these other platforms like Steam or the App Store or Kickstarter, and I can pay a marketing company to help move my product up. And one of the things that Udemy does is they have a review system. I'm going to do a whole video on the review system here. And if the review system works, which it does, then if someone pays a ton of money to move their place up in the marketplace, but their course isn't good, the review system's going to bring it down, right? So, it's just the basic rules of starting a business do not apply on Udemy. It's, again, like Udemy's like, the thing is that being on Udemy is kind of like when you are part of a rich family and it's good and you don't want to upset, the head of the family. And the family does play favorites, and you're not one of those favorites, right? And so this has kind of been my frustration with Udemy here. For me personally, I can make, we at the company can make courses extremely good courses very quickly and very efficiently. And none of that seems to matter on Udemy. It matters outside of Udemy because I can do all these things to scale up a business, but not once have I ever been able to crack a lot of these spots because for the most part, they are kind of hand selected to move up here. So there's a ton of people that could have replaced these, this content on short notice, but they don't do that, right? And it really irks people. And, they said themselves that instructor retention is a problem. This is what this whole paragraph is about, right? And I would say it's the number one problem because if you start to annoy people that want to go into e-learning, they're not going to go into e-learning, or worse, they're going to go to your competitor if they really want to get into e-learning. E-learning is not a top spot for any kind of person coming out of high school, right? Most people just end up there for whatever reason. For me personally, I wanted to end up making games and people wanted to learn how to make the games. So I've hopped into this and it really worked out well. And I had a very major skill set. I was a coder, I was a teacher, and, I had a lot of extra skills that basically led me into this. And it's really good. And I really do like doing it. But it is really annoying to work with Udemy on some cases because they just kind of handpick favorites. And a lot of people say, I'm done with that. They don't have any kind of loyalty to Udemy. They just say, I'm done with Udemy. I'm going to go get a job at a FANG company and make 200 to 400 grand a year. I don't want to deal with reviews or all this other stuff, or even just platform politics. The platform politics has been a huge drain on my productivity over the years. All right, so let's continue. Although we do not believe the loss of any one of these instructors would materially impact our business, the loss of multiple existing instructors, as well as the failure to attract additional instructors, could negatively impact our business, financial conditions, and the result of the operations adversely affecting the ability to provide high quality, engaging, relevant content for one or more subject matters and the pace of which to provide such content, which in turn would reduce the attractiveness of the platforms and the customers. Absolutely, right? So there's a couple things that they've done here. In the Udemy for Business, your course will be there for 12 months afterwards, okay? And then it will be on the marketplace. It could be on the marketplace for 60 days, etc. But this does pose a problem because as soon as a competitor to the Udemy marketplace happens, then instructors will leave. It is like, it doesn't even need to be good. It just needs to be half of what Udemy does. And again, instructors will leave. They absolutely will leave. And a good example of this would probably be the App Store versus Android. Now, the App Store still makes a lot more money, but in some cases, high-end Android phones and on the marketplace do really well. Talk to any person who builds apps, and most of the time they'll tell you that the App Store makes them a lot more money, but not always. Some developers make more on Android. So the Google Play versus the App Store is a very good example. And remember, Udemy should really take a page out of Apple. They should build their company similar to Apple because they're probably the best example to build here. Udemy should be more like the App Store than like Netflix, okay? So they're trying to be like Netflix, but they should be more like the App Store, okay? And that's a huge key. And again, I'm going to be making lots of videos about this because I can't make a video about this, or I can't put it all in one video. It'd be like 10 hours long, right? So the next one is that if we fail to expand our relationship with UB customers, our ability to grow our business will suffer. So what this basically says is that like a lot of their things are being built off of the recurring revenue. And that is absolutely true. But they are trying to go into it way too much. And I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it now because it's probably one of the bigger points here. So Udemy for Business is a very good business model. Having the recurring revenue with those kind of customers is a really good idea. However, the consumer marketplace, most people do not want to buy subscriptions because it's not the same as Netflix. I can tell you, because I do this and I hear the customer feedback, and a boots on the ground kind of person here, is that when people subscribe to an e-learning site, usually they want a lot more interactivity. They want something like Duolingo or Brilliant. They don't want a lot of video courses. Instead, the video courses are more like an extension of what books are. And that's not to say it's bad. Just because something's interactive doesn't mean it's good. When I first started in this business in like 2010 and 2011, everyone's like, it's got to be interactive. It's got to be interactive. Investors are wanting interactive. Well, you know what? You don't have to do that. You can just make a video that explains everything or a text document that explains everything. It's all about effectiveness versus like what the bells and whistles are. Now, Duolingo is probably the best. If I need to learn a new language, I will go onto Duolingo versus taking a video course. If I want to learn to code or make a game, I want to see someone do that in a video or at least have text tutorials. I don't want to go into some interactive thing with game development or app development or machine learning, because if I want to build an app to get a career, I need to use the actual tools, and it's video or text to tool. That's what really needs to be done. Now, they also mention here that they say we operate in a highly competitive market and we be not able to compete against the current or future competitors. Yes. Well, this is obviously a case for any business here, but Udemy really does run the risk of becoming like a Blockbuster, that they just fail to adapt, or they become too big and bloated and they just kind of dissipate here. And that is actually those two factors are very big risks here. So this whole section here is probably the most things about risk. Okay, they don't attract enough learners. They don't foster their current. So they don't attract enough instructors. They don't foster their current base. they just don't do that as much. And people leave. Instructors leave because there's no point in being on Udemy when you can get a job somewhere else or make it on your own. And again, there has been a lot of people that have been better than what we've done have just simply left over the years because they've had a spat with Udemy. I cannot stress that enough. So many people have left. In fact, I might even do some videos on specific cases in the future. Let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about, right? By the way, so the more comments you put in, the more things I can just talk about, right? So let's see, learners, instructors. We compete for instructors on our ability for monetization. Now, really what instructors should be compared with is instructor or instructor businesses. Now, the way that this works is that, the thing with e-learning is that I can do things a certain way and another person can do another thing a different way, and none of our customers intersect, right? Because the way I do my things and the way this other instructor does the other way, right? People will learn in a different way. They might like the person's dictation. They might like this format better here. There's a ton of things that they can do, right? It's just like, if you go to a burger joint, you can go to McDonald's, you can go to a high-end burger place, you can go, to Fat Burger. These are all different places you can get burgers at different times for different use cases. And the same thing happens with instructors. And we should call this instructor businesses. So if 1 year from today, they're not talking about scalability on the marketplace, they're not talking about instructors as businesses, not just instructors. And if the marketplace doesn't become more transparent and a lot more friendly to new existing instructors, then you can definitely see the growth of Udemy not be as much, right? They can only pay people so much money to make courses because, again, the quality of courses on Udemy has stagnated over the last 4 years, right? It really has, because it's my job to know, right? It's my job to know. It's my job to review. And, the reason is that there's just no incentive on Udemy unless you're handpicked. And you'll see that with a lot of instructors. You can go back to Teaching Guide, and if they're on that top 100 list, they are most likely incentivized to keep to make sure that Udemy is indeed being promoted here. But I'm telling you, boots on the ground, that it's probably the biggest one. Okay, they do not foster the instructor relationships as much as they could. Okay, and sometimes, it just sometimes they just don't do it as much, right? So there's lots of things here, and let's see. This is an important section as well. We believe that our competitiveness depends on a range of factors, both within and beyond our control. The availability of development alternative online platforms that are more compelling to learners or instructors and organizations. So I'm glad they're cognizant of this, right? It's exactly what I've been talking about. Changes in the pricing policies and terms offered by our competitors or by us, right? Right? I mean, pricing, Udemy has a long history with pricing, which I'm going to go into in a different video, but their pricing system needs to change. And they spent way too much money on this pricing system. And it really, I've been banging my head against the wall to get them to do a different pricing system. And they've spent millions of dollars on the wrong answer, right? And I'm going to be talking about that here. Changes to instructor revenue sharing model. It's changed over the years. I'm going to be doing a whole video about that as well. The ability to adapt to new technology requirements of learners, UFB customers. So they are acquiring things for the UB customers, and like they acquired a company that did kind of services for businesses. And that's not a bad thing. I think that was actually a really good acquisition on their part. The costs associated with acquiring and retaining learners, instructors, and UB customers. The ability of our current and future competitors to establish relationships with customers, and the industry consolidation and the numbers rate with new entrants. Okay, so one of the things, this is interesting. It's not really kind of a part here, but all of these investment into e-learning, it creates more and more customers. So if more and more money is being funneled into getting people to learn online, that's a good thing, because if they start with one area and then they move to a different area, to a different platform, then that's a good. So the idea is, and I worked at Starbucks a long time ago, and at Starbucks, they told me if Dunkin' Donuts recruits a coffee customer, that's a huge win for Starbucks. And it's the same thing in the e-learning industry. If Pluralsight recruits a new learning, I'm going to see some of that money. So if Pluralsight recruits a new customer, I'm going to see some of that money somewhere along the line. Okay. So notice how, so we can just take a look at some of these here. So Pluralsight, Skillsoft, LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, and edX. Okay. Now I'm telling you that the number one reason why Udemy is so successful is the marketplace, right? Because this subscription, and then I think, edX has changed because they were recently bought out. But like the courses are really expensive. Why is Udemy successful? They have a marketplace where people can buy a la carte courses for not too much money, right? That's really all it is. That's the number one reason why we're here today. That's the number one reason why I've been in business, and they want to push it to, Pluralsight or, like a personal subscription model. That's the wrong answer, okay? They should not want to do that. They should let instructors have subscriptions for their entire content, meaning that they can make it more scalable for the instructors or instructor businesses, okay? That's what they should do. They should not have a global thing, okay? It will not be good in the future here, okay? Now, so a lot of the rest of these things here are kind of like, the pandemic. We have pricing model offering. That's a big one, okay? And then like the risk factors just go on and on and on and on and on. But for the most part, what I've talked about here are probably the biggest ones. And for the most part, it's really about the marketplace being more scalable and the idea that people want to grow a business. Now, before we end this video, because this video is already getting to be pretty long here. So before we end this video, I do want to say that I mentioned this last in the video that in 2015, things were going really good. There were, in 2016, I guess as well, is when I started to hire new people, and other people were doing that on the platform. In fact, a cloud guru did that, and then they got some investment. And they were the first kind of Udemy instructor to get investment, and there should be more. What Udemy really needs to do is to get $100 million invested on the course side, on the instructor businesses, right? I need to be able to walk into a VC shop or a VC place and say, look, I want to make courses. Udemy's part of the platform or part of the plan. Please give me $10 million. We'll change the world, right? That kind of thing. I can't do that. I've done that. I've been laughed out of the room, and that's a huge problem. It's a really big problem because I can do that for the App Store. I can do that for Steam. I can do that for Netflix. I can do that for Amazon, but I can't do it for Udemy. And you, as the investor, are going to lose out if I can't do that, right? It's just what it is. And I've been talking about this stuff for 7 years now, right? Because most of the instructors, like, why do instructors even go to Udemy in the first place, right? Well, they go to Udemy simply to make money and then kind of get out of the rat race, work from home, work your own hours, that kind of thing, right? They don't go to Udemy to start a business, right? And that's the problem. That's the problem with the marketplace. We need more business-minded people creating these courses, right? Because with my business, I'm trying to make the courses better, faster, and for less money. Every single quarter, I go over that with my employees. We try to do that, and we do it to a certain degree, right? But what's happening is that, again, because I see all the things that are going on behind the scenes here, and I'm telling you, just relaying to you what I see here is that there's a lot of businesses that are creating better products than what is currently being offered on Udemy, and because of that, I suspect that the platform will suffer because, again, I'm not going to go on Udemy. I'm going to go do my own thing, right? And for me, why am I still on Udemy? Well, first of all, I like it. Second of all, I do have some loyalty to it. And that loyalty doesn't really get repaid to a certain extent, right? You know, and fourth, I think it's the best possible, like the whole point of Udemy is to traffic e-learning people into one spot. And that's all they need to really do. It's simple, right? But they're not doing that. Well, they are doing that, but they're not doing that as effectively as they could. And I need to be able to profit off that. And I need to be able to sell my business for millions of dollars years down the road. But I can't do any of that the way current Udemy currently is. All right, so that concludes this video. If you're an investor, I have contact information down below. I can give you a consultation as to what you want to do with Udemy. And remember, if you really like our products, you can buy them down below. This channel doesn't do a Patreon. Again, we are going to be doing lots of videos on Udemy, so please like and subscribe, and really just help us out in the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.